Nobody wants this to happen to their family in their own yard.
Hey, bro! You I swear to God! Hey, boss!
The Louisiana Department of Justice cannot proceed with a prosecution.
You could have tased him. You could have tased him. You clearly could have tased him. He wasn't trying to hit you. He wasn't trying to shoot you. He wasn't trying to do anything.
Stop, 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 stop. Shots fired, shots fired.
Hard to hear, isn't it? We've seen a slew of high-profile shootings of citizens at the hands of police. We've covered many of them right here on the show. You know the names: Philando Castile, Stephon Clark, Alton Sterling. Here are some new ones to add to the list: Danny Thomas, Brandon Flood. Ultimately, prosecutors and the judicial system will decide if the use of potentially deadly force was required, needed in those situations. However, that doesn't take away from the pain felt by family members and the distrust of law enforcement felt by some members of the community following an officer-involved shooting. Linda Webb believes this all boils down to police officer training. She is the co-founder and CEO of RITE Academy. They actually train officers to de-escalate potentially dangerous situations. Linda, I've been looking for you. I've been anxious to talk to you because I think this is a conversation, this is wisdom, this is experience, this is training that we need. If I get it right, Linda, the premise behind the training is that if you help the officer become a better person, the profession follows.
You got it, Michaela. And by the way, thank you for having me. You're exactly right. RITE stands for Racial Intelligence Training and Engagement. And that first starts with me. It starts with me, the police officer, okay? I gotta treat myself fairly before I can even engage with you. And so what's very important here is emotional intelligence. My emotional intelligence, my emotions. I need to get my emotions in check first before I engage with you, which is social intelligence.
Talk about what emotional intelligence means. I think that's a really good point. Emotional intelligence. Drill down on that a little bit.
Okay, let's drill down. And the best way to do it is to show you in this tool that we give to police officers, okay? We actually give to each police officer emotional intelligence tools. And now, as you can see, there's 18 rungs on this ladder. At the top of the ladder, we have love, gratitude, joy. And down at the bottom, we have fear, anger, and blame. We always say, nothing good happens at the bottom of the ladder. So all we're asking is when you roll out of that patrol car, ask yourself, what are my emotions? Take time out and get your emotions in check before you engage with somebody. And in situations where they're heated situations, possibly take a breath, take a pause. Remember, it takes 2 to 7 seconds, okay, to create what's called space of mind, all right? And in that 2 to 7 seconds, you can get your emotions back in check.
It's really interesting to me that in the research that we have, in the training that a typical officer receives, a bulk of it is on firearms, and a minority of it is on communication.
You're correct. 5% of the engagement with the public is typically what we call warrior or tactical type training or tactical things. 95% of the time, what am I going to do when I engage the public? I'm going to use my mouth. But yet, mostly all police training dollars is spent on tactical training. Why aren't we doing more communication training? Why aren't we doing more emotional intelligence training? And in fact, a majority of police departments across America, they don't even know what emotional intelligence is. And when we go to teach emotional intelligence to police officers, it's the first time they've ever acknowledged their emotions. Because you see, even when I went through the academy, we were taught to hide our emotions. We were taught you were not to have emotions at all. When the fact of the matter is, if we're angry, if I roll out of that patrol car and I'm angry, even if I'm frustrated, look at where frustration is on the ladder. It's down here. And when it is, it's a recipe for disaster.
Let me ask you, how open are departments? You guys have had great success. You've been traveling the nation, talking to departments, to officials, and training officers. Are they open to it? Are they ready to sit down and have this conversation? Or are you sometimes hitting a brick wall?
Well, you know, it's a little bit like moving the Titanic, but I am going to say there are a lot of progressive police departments out there that have embraced us. And I'm going to tell you, those departments that have embraced us, we've gotten the stats back, and they're unbelievable. I'm talking a 60% reduction in use of force, 50% reduction in police complaints. So don't you think emotional intelligence training is important? And by the way, it's not about just giving people training. You got to give them tools to practice with.
Yeah.
Let's give them less tools on their gun belt or on their duty belt. And how about we give them emotional intelligence training tools that they can use and practice with in their patrol cars?
And I can imagine even when you talk about, and we've heard many times, it's up to an officer's discretion. When you have emotional intelligence, your discretion is going to be more humanistic in approach, is it not? It's not going to be one of just sort of black and white.
Yes, in my police experience, Michaela, I've been confronted at least 8 times with a suspect with a confirmed knife, gun, or stick. And yes, per standard operating procedure, I had the right to take that person's life. Okay? I had the right to use force because I was in fear. But when I took 2 to 7 seconds and took a pause, I was able to get back up the ladder, climb the ladder, back to confidence. I was able to de-escalate the call, and guess what? I was able to get them to drop the weapon. And I saved their life, protecting sanctity of life. Because sanctity of life is important. My life's important, but so is that suspect. So why don't we just take a breath, take a pause, de-escalate a little bit, and let's use our emotional intelligence, and let's get emotional intelligence tools in the hands of the police officer.
You know what, to be honest, I think all of us could use some of that, especially when we're in traffic or when we're flying. All of us could use some more emotional intelligence. Linda Webb, I wish you well with this. It sounds as though you've been making some terrific headway, and we hope that there is more to be had. And I hope cities and counties and states will lean on you and your peers. Thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.